All right, we're here with head women's basketball coach Kamie Ethridge. Kamie, just kind of talk about what you saw from Idaho and maybe what halftime adjustments you guys made.
Well, just Arthur's doing a great job. That staff, I think they've taken that group and molded them and become pretty hard to guard. You know, they have a plan of ducking their head and getting to the basket. That hurt us a little bit in the first half. I thought, but at halftime it was very much about, you know, we had 35 points, they had 30. You can't argue with 30 points in a half, and it was more about our offensive execution. And I think the ultimate test was the fact that we've never had a team that is so kind of bad at assist to turnover ratio that we are right now. And at half, we were 3 assists and 10 turnovers. And that's just, we're just, got young players trying to do too much and the decision making, and they took advantage of that by picking up some charges and us not being able to finish hard twos when I think there are easier shots around us. And I don't think there's anything that we can do other than get our kids more practice, watch film, see things, kind of get them to understand where they need to be looking on those drives. Again, I love this team. I love their passion. I love how hard they work. I love how their enthusiasm to play the game and how much they want to play. They want to help the team. They just are not patient right now in knowing how to help the team. And most of the time they want to go score the ball. And we've just got to keep working that. And I thought the older players in the second half kind of righted us a little bit. And we've just got to get more of that from when we go to the bench.
You talk about the young team and kind of just wanting to go score, but what are your thoughts on the defensive strides that the team's making early in the season?
Well, I thought we played better one-on-one defense than certainly we did against Stanford. And against Stanford, I think is really good. I think they just beat Gonzaga too by a lot. So that's not they're almost impossible to guard, but we made mistakes there, so we wanted to clean that up. We wanted to be better in certain areas of the floor. Still not happy with our rebounding. We're getting out rebounded and out hustled in a lot of spots on the floor. We've got to get better at that. That will hurt us in the long run. But defensively, turn them over 22 times. That's enough to win. It's just that many turnovers should be more points on the board. We're just not transitioning and getting those runs that I think we'll get to. We shoot the 3 of 17. There's just points out there, and there's just too many empty possessions that we got to find a way not to have as many.
What do you maybe need to do to finish better around the rim?
I don't know. Beat them up, I guess, in practice. Just get every kind of noodle, pad, I don't know what. We've got practice guys that are pretty big, and we've told them to block everything they can and to play as physical. Schweitzer did a great job, and she's probably 6 foot at best, So a lot of it is just body position and not settling for just, letting someone play behind you and staying there. And, our shots decision-making there isn't as good as it needs to be. I think Candace for sure needs to grow that. She's getting good position. She's got to find a way to finish. Alex did a little bit better tonight. Obviously scoring 11 points for us was big. Her defensive presence was big. So, again, the weapons we have there are ultimately going to be really important to us. We just have to live through this growing phase of that.
Yeah, you mentioned Schweitzer, who had 23 and 13, a double-double on the night. Someone who has an all-around game like her, who's able to space the floor and get offensive boards like she did. How do you game plan for somebody like that and prepare for that in the future for this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a concern. I think every team that we've played has had a different kind of animal, and she was a unique animal, but how they spaced her, how she just was relentless on the boards. I think she hurt us on the boards, on offensive rebounding. She hurt us with 2 trail threes that were kind of inexcusable on our part. Same thing at Stanford. They were inexcusable based on what we were trying to do and how we were supposed to play it. That got them kind of back in the game, those 2 plays. So she's a big-time playmaker. She got some easy baskets over us. We've just got to be more physical, more active, more ball pressure. And ultimately, we've got to start changing our defenses a little bit more and not letting people get so comfortable. But credit to them, credit to her and how hard she worked. And again, just effective post player. And we need a little bit more of that in our gym.
It was interesting to see both Diana and Kira get some minutes early there, and then Diana towards the end. What do you think their impact is, and then specifically like, with Diana, and what changed in the rotation in terms of getting them more minutes?
Well, again, I don't want anyone to be satisfied with just minutes here and there, and I know Kira's not. She's got to. I mean, my expectation of our players is they earn their way to the floor. And I want to play everybody, but you see what happens when you play a lot of people and you change the momentum when you sub a lot. So we have to manage that better. We've got to get better production. We got to get better rhythm when we do go to the bench. Sometimes it's not anyone's fault that the team doesn't do well when you're on the floor. Sometimes it's someone else's fault for making mistakes. But, when the other team makes runs, when you're on the floor, that's significant. And usually things have to change. So, and that's not a every time thing, but that's something we got to keep working at. And you got to feel responsible. I tell the team all the time that I want to play everybody, but you got to make us better when you're on the floor, and you got to make sure your team's winning when you're on the floor. So that's everybody looking at the score and knowing when they leave, they did better, or the team's leading more than when they got on the floor. So Dee is obviously has practiced like 2 days with us, coming back from an injury, doesn't know where she's supposed to be on most of our sets. I felt like she was just running around, and I think she's going to be a real effective scoring opportunity for us. You can see that even in that, she gets to the foul line and can draw fouls. She's a tremendous defensive player. I don't know that she was great in post defense, but can play almost any position on the floor. So we're glad to have her back because her potential is limitless, and she can play in different spots on the floor. She can play with the big. She can be our big. So we just got to be careful with her as we grow her minutes, and it'll be good to just keep getting her back in the gym and making sure she's learning, and so that she can help us and not be. Again, I just thought we're disjointed, and that has to do with the rotation and then throwing her in there when she's not quite up to speed as what we're doing on the offensive end.
Finally, you guys did take a lot of three-pointers, but it also looked like you're trying to get a lot of good post touches. And Tara had 14 points and Alex had 11, but it looks like they had some challenges there on the occasion, getting the right seal or the right spacing. So what does it take to get someone like Tara, who's a senior, who's got veteran leadership, to really get her going in the post?
Well, I think 14 points is a pretty good night for anybody. She was 1 of 4 from 3. I think what makes her super effective is that we finally now have her scoring from 3. Obviously, she's pretty good in the mid-range, and now she's doing a much more with her back to the basket. She's so effective on driving and then stopping herself and pivoting and finding a shot for herself. That's big. That's hard to do. As a senior, she's kind of grown into that. It's what we want our other posts to do. So I don't have a lot of complaints for her. We probably need to go to her a little bit more in certain spots on the floor and make sure she's getting the shot. That's, I think, our next step as far as getting the ball in the people's hands that need it. LA, I think, had a good night, and I don't think she got as many shots as she needed to. So, but I'm really happy with Tara. I think the point is what you started with is that we got the ball in there in the first half and we came up empty a lot with the shots that people took. So those guys have got to find a way to make shots or get to the foul line, and if not, they've got to find a way to keep that ball moving and keep us in offense. But we can't go empty every time we throw the ball into the post, and that's a challenge that we've got to do when you're playing a freshman post and a sophomore post. We just got to keep growing them and getting them to understand what we need from them. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Go Cougs.